All right, so we're gonna try to do this. I wanted to do some simple classes or like simple, this isn't a class, that sounds weird. This is like a little simple way to get yourself into using Drambo because it can be intimidating at first. But a lot of it really is basic. It's just a different way to view this really. Okay, so some features on here you may not have. I have a beta version. If you don't have those features, I'm not going to really focus on those features, but if you see me pull up a feature or something, and for some reason yours doesn't have it, it's in beta form, so it will be out soon at some point. I can't tell you when. Obviously, I'm not the dev. But let's just talk about basics. So you have your pads here, correct? And you have beside them these arrows, which allow you to go up and down the octave. But if everyone has this, there's 4 dots over here. If you touch it, you can use the keyboard mode here too, okay? So that's pretty simple. These boxes here are your tracks, and you can see some of them I've named them. So if you touch on the top, you can type in a name for each track, okay? Pretty simple. That gets you going. You have a master knob and AB. So the AB represents these two, which are like bus effects. So on the bus effects, you can put something, like I put my reverb on there, and then on B, I have nothing. This final track over here is your master track. So you can put your master chain here if you want to do that. It's pretty simple. These are your different tracks. Now, just because you only see 8 tracks doesn't mean you can't have more. You can add more tracks. We'll talk about that in another video. I don't want to get into that right now because I just want to get you going making some music. This little row of squares here represents 1 bar of a track. So if we're in drums, excuse me. Now this is my basic template I use for the SP if I'm recording in, but you don't have to, yours won't come up like this. Typically, if you go to a new track, it'll come up like this. So that's how we're going to start, the way yours would come up, right? You can set it in there to change it once you build a template. So it's a MIDI to CV. That's cool. Hit the plus sign. Generators represent instruments. That's basically what it is. It's an instrument. Processor is exactly that. It's your effects. It processes sound. Modulator modulates the sounds like LFOs. Mixer is pretty self-explanatory. MIDI is where your MIDI, excuse me if I cough. Again, I'm dealing with this sore throat and all this stuff. So it represents your MIDI stuff. So you'll see Atom, you'll see your MIDI AU units right there. Okay. Miscellaneous tools, exactly that. Like when you need an audio in or an out, you use this, or CVs. I'm not even going to touch on math. It's not worth talking about right now. It'll only frustrate you. That's something when you get deeper into Drambo. I want to get somebody going with the basics, okay? But just so you know what these mean so that they're not confusing. All right, so we're going to start with a generator of some sort. Now, if I touch these little bar over here, I can get my AUV3s. But let's say I want to just bring in like a one shot for a kick. I want to set up my drums. Well, Drambo has some different samplers. You'll see me probably use Flexi Sampler the most. To me, it's the best. If you want to chop up like a drum break or whatever, or if you want to chop up a sample, I'm always going to go Flexi. But I use these now. I use them a lot more. The one-shot sampler, I call it the one-shot. They just call it a shot sampler. And you'll see it has a tune and an offset, and that's pretty much what it is. So you're just going to load. Now, Drambo doesn't have drag and drop at this point in time. So my advice to you would always be, now you can click this and you can go into your search and find projects, or you can hit here and add a folder. But my suggestion is go into the Drambo folder that's on the iPad and drop your drum samples. You see how I have mine here? It says my samples, drums, and then there's all my drum samples. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick one. Pick this kit here, and I have kicks, and I'm gonna pick kicks. And then these little arrows let you listen. For the sake of time, I'm just gonna pick the first one, hit done, and there it is. Now, if you touch the screen, you can see it's in here. You hit edit, you can trim, you can set slices, convert it to mono. I'm going to convert it to mono. It's a kick. I want it to be mono, okay? So there it is. This allows you to drag and cut and slice and trim and all that good jazz. All right, cool. So now I look down here and I see the board and I think drums. Okay, so all I'm going to do is use the C2. And I'm going to place a kick right there. So wherever I put these, this is like, you know, just programming drums. So 1, this is the 2, this is the 3, this is the 4 right in the first bar. So I'm going to put 1 there, 1 there. Doesn't matter I hit A, because they all pitch the same in here. Sounds the same to me, right? So I'm just going to pick that. And then now you have those two. Now, let's say I want to go ahead and adjust the, I don't want them both to hit at that same velocity. This little button here allows you to do that. Now you'll see I have velocity and you should have it too. If you click this little 3 dots, there's velocity feature on here, which means that wherever I hit that pad at, it's gonna be, if I hit it higher or lower, it's gonna change the velocity, okay? So when you touch it, let's say I hit it and then I program a drum. So for instance, I hit this one. You see if I hit it softer, it's going to be like, or down further, it's going to be softer. So don't worry so much about that. If you want to use the velocity, cool. If you don't, but what's cool about this is, you see here, I can change the velocity. So you see these little notches up here. There's gate, velocity, probability, retreat. We're not going to get into that, but those are there for you to make adjustments. So you could take a 1 bar and with probability and all that stuff, you can do some amazing stuff. All right, but this is the only point I want you to see was that. But let's say you're not used to looking at it in that view. You prefer to see it in like a grid, like a piano view. They have that too. So right here's your piano view. And you'll see the 2 notes. There's a snap, a velocity. So you could hit velocity and then move them up and down, kind of like you're doing like a koala, right? Or maybe another app that you like. I'm not going to mess with that. That's not important for you right now. Snap allows you to move it. So if I want to move it off the grid a little bit. For right now, we're just going to leave it. Let's do another one just so we're going to practice. So here we go. We touch that. We're going to open a shot sampler. We're going to load in a snare. So let's pick a snare. We'll go with that one. Hit done. It's loaded. I'm going to convert it to mono. You don't have to do that, by the way. I'm just doing it. There you go. Now I could tune that drum. If I wanted to. It's a little bright for my taste. I actually want to see if we can, I want to load a different one. Let's see. I don't want it to rim, but whatever. 13 will be fine. Let's do that one. And again, I want to convert it. And now here we go. So there it is. All right. I'm going to do an offset. So I want to move it in. Offset where the drums is going to hit. Okay. If you use a different tune sampler, like the Flexi sampler to pull these in, you can still do very similar stuff, but you have more features than this. So this is more like, I don't want to do a lot of adjustment on here. I just want to make a 1 shot, right? And then I'm going to put them in. I'm going to show you how to get more bars in a second. I'm just giving you the bait. I want to do this a few times. So we'll go ahead and put the hi-hat in. One thing that helps me remember stuff on here is to name stuff. So I like to click on the track, click on the top header there, and then click there and name stuff. I'm very much an organized type person when it comes to this, because otherwise I get confused later on and I can't remember what in the gosh darn world I did. Okay. Hats, whatever. All right, let's put some hats in. So we'll go. So we'll put another one shot as we did before. We'll click there. We'll grab, we'll go to this kit, get some studio hi-hats, drop a sample, and I'll put a low velocity. I'm fine with that. All right. Now you could do much more. Oh, of course, I didn't hit the button. Gotta hit done. There we go. Now it's loaded. Touch the screen. I'm going to go and do it as a converter to 1. Boom. And now I am going to, I'm just going to draw these in like that, right? But I want to change the velocity, so I want to go in here so that they're not all the same. So I'm just going to do a little bit of this, whatever, move it. This reminds me of like doing stuff like that on the MPC type workflow. All right, cool. This is just real basic. So here you go. I'm going to change the tempo. You can tap the tempo right here if you want to. I'm just going to change the tempo to like, I don't know, like not 87. I'm going to put about 50% swing on it just because I want to. Okay, and then so what you hear in the background too is a metronome. By the way, let's talk about that. So up here where we clicked on this is the BPM, the swing, and then right here you can do the metronome only when recording. So I'm gonna do it when recording because I'm programming drums. I don't really need the metronome as much. If I'm playing the drums, that's a little different. That's why I usually leave it on always. But if you're gonna play it in from here, but if you don't want to play it in and you just want to draw it in, you could do that. You can do more if you want to, as far as drawing in. That will be up to you. All right. So this is real basic, nothing major. Play, record. I'm just gonna play. Very cool. All right, let's do this. Let's go over to the effects A, and we're going to load in a processor. So we're going to put in, let's say I like on my drums a little dirt and a little reverb. So I'm going to use, now usually I put this on the main part of the track, but for the sake of time, we're just going to do it here. But Saturn, I'm going to put Saturn in, and then right after Saturn, I'm going to put in my reverb. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to put Saturn in. I'm just going to put the reverb in. So the reverb that I typically, or I like the most, and by the way, these are in alphabetical order, is EOS 2, my favorite reverb on iOS, that is. All right, I'm gonna hit that. Now, by the way, you can, these little notches over here allow you to move this around. So let's say if you use the bottom one, you can adjust your view how you want it, right? Do that, close that out. And then I usually put this on about 20%. Usually I do 10, but I'm doing 20. So now this is now and I'll turn this all the way up, the master on this one, because it's just a reverb, okay? Then I'll go here and I will type in reverb because I want to know that's the reverb. Now, when I go back to kick, it's not doing it now. It'll eventually update itself or refresh itself here. I want this to be the reverb. So I can take notch A on each one of these and turn it up to my reverb taste. Gives a little air to your drums, so to speak. But let's say you want to add in, maybe this kick is not hitting hard enough for you. So in the processor, you could add in like a knock. And the reason you might choose to add it here versus putting it with the reverb is because perhaps you want to be able to adjust the kick by itself. See, some people like to do that. So we're going to do it together in here. And then now we can start getting, so if I want more punch, if I want it to clip a little bit, maybe put just a little bit of air on it, leave the sub off, maybe saturate it a little bit. Okay, and now you can do that. And then I'm just gonna, for the sake, because I'm on the iPad mini, so. I don't use much sub on there. And the reason is because I actually want to do a bass for you. So doing a bass, I don't want to put all that extra on there, but but you could do it to your taste, right? Now, mind you, you're hearing it through my studio speakers, but I'm not playing this very loud. Let me see. I guess I could turn that up. That's a little bit better. So, all right. So snare. I don't know why this shows this, but so that's weird. Sometimes you'll see it in stereo, but it's like, it's actually mono. So I don't know why it's doing that. You know, it's imperfect, I reckon. Just, okay. All right. So there we go. Your master's up here. Drambo, I want to say Drambo is like 32-bit when it opens. So it plays pretty loud. So leaving the master back as they set it at like negative 10.5 is okay until you're ready to really mix. And then if you really want to mix, you can either hit the main and go back to here. Or let's say you're here, you want to use these features. You can just click here. And yeah, I mean, not here. Wait, where is it? Is it here? No, I'm tripping. Just hit the main. Go back to there, okay? Then you got all your stuff here you can work with if you want to do the A, the B, the et cetera, et cetera. Okay, snare. I highly suggest save. Sometimes Drambo will crash on you. So we'll call this YouTube. And, oops, didn't mean to do that. Go back. No, messed up. Hold on. Press the button to it. Save as. Okay, we'll call it YouTube. And right here, save with samples. If you're using samples like I'm using samples in those drums, you better make sure you press that save with samples. It's no guarantee it's not going to do it. It'll be in the local documents folder, which is fine. Just hit save. And now at least you know when you pull this back up, it'll have it. If it crashes, one of the things I've noted that it does do for you, which is kind of nice, is it will have a, what is it called? Autosave. There's an autosave built into it. And sometimes it'll save you in the autosave. So if it crashes and you forgot to name it, check the autosave before you give up. All right. So let's say you did these basic drums, but you wanted to add more. So how do you get more bars? I don't want to just have one bar. Well, Drambo slides to the right on this particular mark. This down here allows you to see what this is, right? So if you take your finger, you can see if I touch it, you can copy, paste, delete, clear, crop. But if you drag to the right, you'll see it says 1 bar. Now watch, if I keep going, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars. So let's say I'm just going to do 2 for the sake of this video. So now you have nothing in the second bar. What Drambo does is it splits it for you and allows you to look at different bars. Because if you have a lot, it could get kind of, those little dots here would be kind of hard to look at. So it allows you to look at each one. So you see how you can jump from this one to the second bar and maybe change up the way you did the hi-hats. For the sake of time, I'm not going to change. I'm just showing you. But if you click this side, you can hit copy and then hold this side down and hit paste. And now it'll paste the same thing you had in the front one right there. Same thing with the snares. Or you can leave the snares just at the 2 and not have, that's what I like about it too, is you can have more on the hi-hat. Maybe you want to have more spaces because you want to do different things with the hi-hats, or you could just leave the snares at 2 like that. Is fine. Or whatever you want to do. If you want to make them 4, or if you want your kicks to be a little bit different, you might do 2 bars with the kicks. Let's stretch it out. Do 2 bars with the kicks. And so on this kick, maybe you want it to be here, here. I'm making this up, by the way, just as it goes, so just bear with me. Something like that. Boom. Okay. That's a little busy, but now it'll play the first bar and then play the second. Okay. So if you want to see them together, you do it that way. Pretty simple. So this view here allows you to adjust how you view your grid here. You can either view the first bar, second bar, or view them together. And if you have more bars, the same applies. It's no different. Okay. Then you have this where you can go in and adjust. So maybe these kicks are a little low for your taste. You want them a little bit higher in volume. I'm going to do this like that. And then I'm going to pull this one back up. So now this is just adjusting the velocity. Okay. So that's pretty cool. So you can do that. So you see where to go from it. Okay. So here's your velocity and all these extra things we want to talk about. This is where you see it on the grid. If you want to see it down here, I'm just showing you the different spots again. Okay, that's the kick. Move to the snare. I'm gonna leave the snare at 1 bar. That's fine with me for right now. If you want to make them longer, do so. All right, so let's look. There's your hi-hats. Look at the volume on the hi-hats. You can see because I copied them. Now you have that variant in the hi-hat, okay? Pretty cool. I honestly would rather adjust my velocity here than going in here. It's not that I don't do it both ways. Sometimes I do. Like for instance, if I have chords, I might go into this way because I might want to adjust a single note in a chord. But when it's like when it's single notes, I'm probably going to adjust it here. It's just easier and quicker. Okay, I feel like I have a little more control in here. All right, I have not looked at the time. I'm just going to keep going in hopes that we'll get as much as we can in a project done. So here's just your simple kick, snare, and hat. We just kind of went through. We haven't set up the master chain. We're going to do that next. We set up the reverb. Sometimes people will wait to the end to do the master chain. I don't, just because I kind of know what I'm going to use in the mastering chain. If you don't know that, then that's something you'll have to work on. But see, let's go processes. I'll go in, and my first thing I always put in is the Saturn. And the reason is because I like Saturn. And I don't change anything. I'm just using it like as a dirt to give me some grit to the track. The next thing I usually put in is an EQ. If I'm on the iPad, I typically use Pro Q3. If I'm on the phone, I'll use Tone Boosters EQ. Okay. I like the preset of the mix general purpose, either 1 or 2. Just pick your poison. They both are pretty good. The next thing is always going to be haze from Cleve Grand. I use haze in there. This isn't for those that some people that watch this may not need to worry about a mastering chain because they're not worried about it right out the gate. I like a natural width on the master, so I leave that on. I think I just turned that off. I can't see what I'm doing here. All right. And then on the last bit that I always put in is barricade. If I had none of these apps, I'm always going to have these last two. In other words, if I didn't have a Saturn or a Dirt that I want on there, no big deal. If I don't have Pro Q3, no big deal to me because typically I can EQ each part. This is just overall the master, just kind of balance the mix, okay? So you don't have to have that. On this one, I use... this is to make it louder for me. So it sets at 6 dB. It's the loud master preset. I use that every single time. Now they drop it down in here 6 dB because it can get pretty loud. I typically will pull it up all the way to 0. I'll 0 it out. And then if I want to adjust, I adjust it wherever, right? So you see how loud that is in comparison? So for some reason in here, this thing gets real. I don't know how they got that volume to be kicking like that, that loud. I'm going to put it back at the 6 dB where it was. If you feel that's too loud, then just adjust it. That's what it is. All right, so now I feel like something is a little super reverby. So I'm going to pull back the reverb maybe on the hats. If the hats are too loud, pull the hats back. Pull the volume back. Okay, there you go. Really simple. Make your adjustments. I like that they have this over here because I don't want to have to go back to the main to adjust volumes all the time. So you have a little chain on each side of each one of your tracks to do that. So that's the shot sampler, and that's the simple way to go into that. The next thing I'm going to show you is just bringing an instrument in and using that, okay? So same process. Instruments are a generator, whether you're using a sampler or whether you're using something else. So they have their own stuff in here. Some of these you won't have right out the gate on the oscillators if you like that vibe. If not, use what you have, right? So I'm going to use Decent Sampler. It's one of my favorites to use. It's free. And most of these that I have in here are all free, okay? So Just go find them. Like this one, the claustrophobic piano is Christian Henson. He also made the soft piano for audio, Spitfire Audio, which is free. So I'm using that one because that's one of my favorites. I'll usually turn this down a little bit. You want the piano? Okay, you can pull this back and you'll see it puts a plus there, and it allows you to put in a MIDI thing. So let's say you want to use chord pads or something like that in here, you can do that. Or you can use, if you're on the iPad, you have Scalar, you can use Scalar. So something I like to do is okay, it's not that. Hold on a second, that's driving me crazy. I like to use tonality in split view. And tonality connects right to it. So what this allows me to do is have less going on in here and just focusing on recording. So sometimes I come in and I'll play to, I hear a chord I like that. So we're just going to make something up. Now, to record in, if you set this to 4 bars, what happens is it's going to loop at 4. But let's say you come in and you don't fully know what you want to play. You just kind of, like me, I never come in always just, I know exactly what I want to play. So the better way to do that is just to record with this. Now, there is a count in. So if you go up here, there's a pre-roll. So pre-roll, mine set to 4 beats. You can turn that on. I have quantization on. I don't know why I have that on, but it doesn't really matter. If I'm playing, I could turn it off if I want to. It really doesn't matter at all. I'm going to turn it off for the sake of now, just so we can play in with some kind of dynamic stuff. I'm going to play something simple too. Okay, so that's what we're going to play. So we'll hit record. It will wait for you. Now, if you start playing, it's going to play. It's going to do it. But if you want the beat playing while you're doing it and you want the count in, then hit play. Then and if you just hit that off while you're playing, it'll time it and put it in time for you. So you don't have to worry about doing nothing else. All right. Now I took quantize off for a reason, and I'll show you in just a second here. See how you can't see all this? There's a way to draw that in, but you can't see it, right? It's hard to see. That would be where you want to do this. And then you might want to get rid of the piano for right now, just so you can have, especially if you're on this little bitty screen. And then you'll see that it did all the notes in. There you go. So the editing way, I'm going to show you that. I'm not going to actually edit anything because this sounds pretty good to me. I wouldn't see why you'd want to edit that. There's a button here. You have to click that, and then you can select. So you can do this, right, and select. And then you can move or snap or whatever you want to do. I'm not going to do the editing stuff right now. I like Drambo. You don't have to do a lot of editing, and that's what's good. Too much editing and all that. Just play and feel the music, and put it into it. So there you go. That's my way. I'm showing you my way. Take what you can out of it. And if you don't, that's cool. I'm not mad. All right. Let's name the track. So this is our chords. I usually name it key chords like that. And then I'll put a little reverb on there. Start about halfway. Give it a little air. Okay, I like that. That's cool. So let's say I want a little melody or something. I'm going to use the same thing, but I'm not going to, no, not the same thing. I meant to go to generator. I'm going to go here. Sorry, I'm not feeling it, so my brain is sometimes messing up here. All right, browse. Another free one is this soft nylon guitar light. They make a paid version, but you can get the free version. Feel free to get the free version. Why not? Now, it can be kind of really light. There's a way to amp it. I'm not going to get into that right now because it'll be much. I just turn the volume all the way up. Put a little reverb to that. If you want to use a piano, go ahead. I'm going to use between 2 and 3. Now, you should have a lock down here. Go ahead and hit the lock so you can lock the piano. Otherwise, if you don't, the piano slides. It'll drive you crazy. All right. If you click here where I showed you there, you can adjust the piano note sizes if you want. And there's also scale lock. So you can scale lock and set the root note if you know what root you're in. If you don't know what root you're in, don't do it then because you'll get confused. And I'm sorry I didn't mean to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this back up just so you can see. Now, this is, by the way, tonality allows you to have scalar chords in here. And I don't remember which chord set this is, to be honest. If I remembered, I would have wrote that down. But I think B flat is safe to say this is in B flat minor. Based on how many B flats is in this thing, I'm going to say it's safe. So if you ever, oh, by the way, I should show you this since we're already here. Might as well do this. It ain't going to hurt. If you're wondering what notes you can play on this scale, well, the note is, if you took the minor off and you took the 9th and the 7th and all that off, the notes is the notes, okay? So you can use the D flat or the B flat or the E flat or the F. Those are the notes. All those notes are still the notes in the chord, so it doesn't, if you don't know the scale, you're like, I don't know what that scale is, don't worry about it. And the other way to do this is play what sounds good to you, which is fine too. Let's say you want to record and you're unsure, and I'm talking about in Drambo, you're unsure what you want to record. Well, don't feel like you can't just press record, press play, and start playing over it. The other option is before, you might come up with the stuff you want. I didn't record that. So what I'm going to suggest is, man, but I liked what I played. I'm going to suggest press record and do it. And that way, if you play something you like, you can have it and then pull it back. And I'll show you that right now. So I'm just going to hit record. Okay, so I just happen to kind of know what the notes were for that. But if you didn't, you would just kept playing. Remember, these are set now in pieces. So there's 4 bars here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could take a bar. Let's say you like this, or you like these 2 bars, but you don't like this. Then you would just click here and hit delete. And then it would just be those 2 bars. So you can pick and choose. If you like a bar in the middle and you're like, man, I like this bar and that bar, how do I get that? The best way to do it is delete this bar first and then delete that bar, or delete this first bar and then delete that bar, right? And then it should keep your bars that you have. I'm okay with what I played. It's fine with me. I'm not really tripping. But if you do that, remember, you can copy a bar. So you could go here, instead of deleting, you could just say clear. So you could touch this bar, hold your finger on it, and then clear it. So you have all these options here. Just pick what works for you. I'm not going to worry about it. It was fine with me. I just played something, so I'm not tripping right now. But So anyway, there you go. So that's that. So now you want to name that track again. This is going to be the nylon guitar lead, LED, but I'm done. All right, cool. You can add effects after. So if you wanted to, let's say you want to go generator, processor, and you want to put on, what would I add after this? Maybe like a delay, some type of delay. But let's say, now remember, they have, if you want something simple, they have delays in here. So bit reduction, they have this compressor. So you could go with, let's do this delay here, okay? They have a feedback there, a length, a wet drive, how much you hear. Then if you don't like it or you want to hear it without it, you touch the top and see where it says enable, just turn that off and it'll turn that rack off, or that portion of it. We'll talk about on another video if you got something that you like that you might want to use. Like let's say you create this little saxophone with a reverb with something else and you want to use that combination. How can you get those four, select them and put them in a rack or in an instrument rack? And now you can save that rack and have that rack later. And there's a ton of people that have stuff on Drambo out there where they've created different little cool instruments and stuff. I actually have one myself. For the SP that I use, I told you in the beginning, is basically how I record into here through using this keyboard and the SP, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about that later. You get crazy and get too much. But see, you have a wet dry, so you can control how much of it is going to delay in there. I like a little echo on the guitar. It's kind of cool. Just gives a little extra added. All right, so now you see where we're at on our track. So now you want to go bass. So I've shown y'all this before, but I use different bass, but you can pick whatever bass you want. I didn't even really add a percussive instrument. I usually do that too. For the sake of time, we're not going to do that right now. Audio layer for me. Audio layer. I'm going to select my bass in here. Give me 1 second as I find it. It's right over, not there. Let's see. I like a muted bass for this kind of sound. So there's my little R&B bass. Then I'm going to come in here and go right here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to processor. One of the things I like to do in this, with this particular bass I have here, and other basses too, is, and this is probably the only reason I use Grand Finale. Some people use it for mix. I just don't. But I do like it for the bass. It has a bass cut through setting that I feel like gives me that extra boost I need. Okay. The bass notes you could do. Oh, and here's a trick if you want to. If you want to play the bass, just play it. Okay, so you could do that. I probably will do that, but I'm just going to show you a trick. So you have your chords here, and you're like, man, I want the bass to be the same. First of all, let's name the bass. This will make it where we jump back and forth. It'll be easier to see it. Just say bass. You can literally highlight these and go copy, then touch your bass. Highlight. How many bars was that? Was that 8? I'm going to put it at 8. I think it was 8. Let's just go back and make sure. Yeah, that's definitely 8. All right. Then you could go here and then go paste. Boom. And now you have the piano chords. And watch this. I'm going to take these. Okay. This is where I'm going to show you the select. I'm going to do select. Boom. Get rid of those and just go clear. They're gone. And now you have the bass notes to your chords. Just a simple way. Right? Now you can. it's not busy. It's just a basic follow the chord bass. But if you don't know how to do bass and you're not really like, it's like you're not your strong point. Now, one of the things I will say I like in a bass personally is I like a little turnaround. So a little doom doom doom, boom, right, back into it, gives it a little more vibe versus just playing a chord. So that's an option. Or you could do something like this, or you could do this. You could go, all right, I like the way that plays fine, but when I get to here on this part, I want to change, I want to add something. So you could just adjust the note right on the corner and then play in a portion while it's recording. Let's just do that. All right, so oops, I'm not gonna draw it in, by the way. By the way, if you don't hit select, it will draw a note in. So just so you know, I'm gonna do that. And what I'm gonna do over here is I don't wanna move it. Okay, good. I just wanna, yeah, there we go. All right, I'm shortening the note there and I'm just taking that note off. And now I'm just gonna add in a bass, a little more bass to that. Excuse me, my voice is going out. So let's play it. All right, let's do that. So we're gonna hit record, hit play, it'll give us the count in and we're gonna play through it. That was terrible. I don't like it, but whatever. I'm just showing you that you can do it. Maybe you don't want to play it that high up, so you might want to select all these, hit your select button, right? And then you want to drop them down to a lower bass registry. I forgot what note that was on. Oh, you know what? What's cool about Drambo too is they leave that line, so you at least know where that line was. I believe that's where it was at. I don't know what note that is, though. It was over there, number one. That note is, I do get, it's not that I can't figure that note out what it is, but I would like to see the note, like what it is. But whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, so that's a B, and then we're starting on a B flat. All right, so we're just gonna move it down, and I just moved this out of your view, didn't I? Yeah. All right, so let's do that. We're gonna move it down to a B flat. So we'll play it like, I think this is B flat here. We'll try this to see where it goes. That's okay. It's still not my favorite, but whatever. Okay, for this video, we'll just leave it. It is what it is. All right, click off. Now you're back here. You can adjust the volume on your bass note if you need to. Now I'm going on to 7. So I kind of have a lead going, but let's say I wanted to do a solo of some sort. How would I do that? Well, same process. Hit the generator, hit the button here. Or maybe you want to add some texture. Let's do that. Let's do texture first. There's all kinds of ways to add texture. It just depends on what your thing is. But I do want to show you the Flexi sampler for the sake of this video. Let's just do a space crab. We're going to do something like this, and we're going to sample in something. So here's an instrument, but I want to sample that instrument. So I'm going to click here, and we're going to add in a Flexi sampler. Now, the Flexi sampler, I think they call it that because it's very flexible as far as what you can do, right? It sort of makes sense. Spacecraft, if you've never used it before. It's just a granulator plugin, basically, is what it is. So if you click here, you'll see you have 2 different granulators going, and you just play with these to get some sound. I don't fully understand this, I'll be honest, but you could throw some notes in or some whatever's in. You can search through here to find different stuff you want to granulate. That's what's happening. Oh, let me show you that. So to hear what's happening, you have to hit the monitor, and you search through. Then you go here, maybe in this one. Just some textural stuff. This may not work, so we're just going to record in. I hit record, and it'll start recording what it's hearing. All right, that's enough. And don't forget, I said click here and disenable that, because otherwise it'll keep playing. You can turn the monitor off if you want. So now we have this in here. All right, let's do this. Watch this. I guess it just wants to play through, huh? It's not going to stop. All right, so we're going to go set slices, detect transients. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. That's okay. I'm going to do 16. Okay. I'm not even worried about where they're placed at. I'm going to set this to random, and I'm touching this one. I'm going to set it to slice. I'm changing the pitch. And what it's doing is every time I hit this one, I'm only hitting one note. It's picking a random slice to play. So now I'm just going to draw in here. Oh, this is so let's do this. So if you hit that, it's just going to be that, right? But if you hold it, and you can extend it however long you want. So I'm going to hold notes like that. I'm going to hold notes like that, that, and that. Just 4 of them. Same note, because it's going to randomly play something different every time it plays, right? You see I changed the speed of it. I changed the pitch. So that gives you some variation in the sound. Now I'm going to add some reverb. Turn it down a little bit. So I just added some texture. And that's a stock sound. I didn't go get a sound. You can bring your own sounds in the Spacecraft. First of all, I love Spacecraft, but you can bring your own sounds in there. It's one of my favorite granular on iOS. And then you can bring your own sounds in, and you got up to 2 that you can granulize at the same time. I hope they make the second or another version. I know there's a second version on desktop. I hope they make one for iOS that has like 3 in there. That would be pretty cool to have. But anyway, it is what it is. All right, so this is Flexi Sampler. That's how I use it. Pretty much just, you can drop slices manually in there if you want, or you can use their set slices. I just do set when I'm doing something like that. And then this is number 7. We're going to rename number 7. And this is going to be texture. Sometimes you can take texture and you might just want to use maybe like some sound from outside or some ocean. You hear people use rain and they just put it in there lightly, put it in the back. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with the speed of it and change it up and make it sound really cool, different, weird. You got fade ins, fade outs. If you hit the record session, you can go over here and do instant record, or you can change it to threshold for the recording. So once it hits a certain threshold, if you do instant, it's cool for like when you're just recording something off of a something like this off the radio or something. But when you do an instrument in, you want to use the threshold, because otherwise you won't be able to sync. You won't be able to get the timing of your playing if that's what you're really trying to do. And you see that little record at the top. It toggles between the screens. Monitor is down here. There is monitor over here. I just hit the wrong button. Monitor over here too. But now that they added it here, I'm not sure if your version or whatever version when you watch this video will have monitor here or only here. Because I think the other one only had it here. And they recently, I think, added it to this side. By the way, if you need to delete something, I'm not going to remove this because I actually like it. You can either edit it from in here and do the edit. Here, if you go back, you can see where you can fade in and out, convert to mono, etc., etc. If you go to the record side, you can do the same thing. You can throw if you swipe down, it'll allow you to remove this. So if you make a mistake and you want to get it, or you can use clear or remove. So they have options here, or you can use the swipe down feature to do it. And you could do it from here too. So that is it. So I've added texture. I've showed you bass. I've showed you a lead, nylon guitar, showed you chords, kick, snare, and hats. I would say that's pretty much 7 elements of a song. And maybe you would want, let's say this was your melody. You might want another lead, something that could solo at a certain point to switch up. So I usually don't use more than 8 to 10 tracks. Most of the time I stay at 8 or less. But I would say you might want 10. And the reason is let's say you had I didn't put a percussion in here. If I wanted to add percussion, I probably would go 8 would be percussion. And then maybe my 9th track or 10th track would be some type of solo. So those are options that you have. All right, this video has been going on for quite some time now. We are literally at 51 minutes. But I think I just gave you the best rundown I could give you of a simple way to get into Drambo and kind of get started. Now, I'll say this for the last few minutes. If you want to mute tracks, I use it on here. It's fun. So you might hit that. Let's say you want to drop out the drums. So I'll do it here. And if you get your game right, like I've shown in a video where you could use a controller to do that, which you can. But it's so fun to mute in here and just do it in here. So these little things here, I'll say this for last. This is for your master track to record out. So if you just want to record a mix all the way out, use that one only. But if you want to record each individual track on its own, then you would use that. And I would still say record the master out. So see how you can record all of them? Now you have your individual part and the master, and you can always just pick which one you feel like you want to use. I don't know why you would record reverb when the reverb, I'm pretty sure the reverb goes out with the track into the master for sure. But maybe you would want to record reverb. I don't know. I'm going to save this song. Once again, always save. This one's called YouTube just because I did it on YouTube for you live. So it's live where I'm recording it at least. But anyway, all right. So there you have it. You've seen that. You can pause, go back on parts. I will not be putting a timestamp, but if there's somebody out there that's super cool and they know what they're doing, because that ain't me, and they know how to do timestamps, feel free to do timestamps on parts if that helps. I think it will help other people. I wish I knew how to do it, and if I could figure it out, I would do it in some of these videos, but I really don't know how to do that, okay? All right, so that's the end of this video, and I'm out.